Hey everybody, so it's great to be back. It's been a while. It's been a couple years since I made a video, but I figured to start it all off again, let's go ahead and just do a basic head drawing. Just working from imagination really and just focusing on those basics. So the beginning of the video, we're doing just the overall head shape of everything and placing in those thirds of the face. And then we are looking at the perspective and thinking of the head as if it were inside of a box. And then from there, we start placing in the features and always remembering to stay on that same tilt line to make sure everything is solid. And then from there, we just kept going until we got more detail and a little bit of a shadow mapping and also putting a little bit of value just for fun in the end. So let me go grab those supplies and just go over those real quick with you, and then we'll start the head drawing. So the tools I'm using today for this drawing is the Pro Art Smooth Newsprint. It's very important to get the smooth newsprint because this paper works really well with the Conte El Paris 1710B pencil. And also I'm using the Prismacolor kneaded rubber eraser along with my Tombow mono eraser. This little guy gives you a lot of control when you're erasing, maybe pulling out highlights. It's a really cool pen. Been using it for a very long time. Pen eraser. So these are the tools I'm using today in the demo. And let's get on to the drawing. Okay, so starting off on this basic head, we're going to do a circle and just really lightly. I don't fully draw the entire circle usually. I just want to use it to find that far side of the skull and the back of the head basically. So like the forehead being here and then over to the back side of the skull. You can draw that entire circle if you like. I'm just so used to not doing the entire circle, and the reason why is generally I'll have to erase this later anyway, but just for the demonstration I guess I'll just go ahead and place it in. And you can see that it's not like a full it's not like a perfect circle. It's more of an oval shape, and that's so that you give enough cranium space on your portrait instead of having that perfect circle and then the head looks too small, because you usually wind up putting more on the back side anyway. So we got our basic circle placement on the page. We can tell the top of the head will be somewhere up here once we have the hair, and let's just pull down an overall shape of the far side of the face. And then down here is about where I'm going to put the chin. So right now I'm just sort of guessing. And again, this isn't off of any sort of reference. Basically, it's from imagination and just looking at the basic shape of the head, basic drawing process of the portrait. So we have the bottom of the chin, overall shape of the head itself. And at this point, I like to go ahead and place in the thirds of the face and also the angle of the portrait. So I think we're going to have it where we're looking up a little bit. So if you think of the head as a box, and you got this sort of angle here. So this is the front of the face, and then we have the side of the head. And this will be the brow line right about here, and we'll have the cross of the face. And then bottom of the nose will be somewhere right here. So this will come across, and then we'll take these angles, and this is where we'll find the placement of the ear. And then of course we have the jawline that comes down. So just using the box as a way to think of the perspective of the portrait really helps. So again, with the thirds, I'm going to start with the hairline. And again, the thirds of the face is referring to the hairline and down to the bottom of the chin. That's the face. We have the entire head itself, but when we talk about the thirds of the face, we're just talking about the hairline to the brow line, down to the bottom of the nose, and course the bottom of the chin. Now I think I'm gonna try to keep these 3 equal parts. So let me make my adjustments. And we'll take some comparative measuring too, real quick, to make sure I got those equal. Probably need to bring this down. So with your pencil, I like to use pencil and finger, so my finger is marking one point and the tip is marking the other point. So come here. So the bottom portion from the nose down to the chin is much longer than the middle. Let's check the middle with the top, because I might go ahead and keep that. I think I'll just bring it up a little bit, because generally when you're looking up at the portrait from that angle, the bottom portion will be a little bit longer anyway. But I think I'll just make it a touch longer instead of all the way, just a slight bit. So pretty close to equal parts as far as these two, and this one, the bottom portion will be a little bit longer. So now I'm going to try to figure out where the backside of the mandible will be, the jawline, right? So, and also where the ear begins. So you have this line right here, the backside of the jawline. And what I like to do is take this distance from the chin to the brow, and then touch it right on that line right here, and then drop it down, and that gives me a good idea of where that will be, which is right about here. So this distance is equal to this distance, and that gets you in the ballpark pretty quick. And of course everybody's head is a little different, of course, and the thing is, we're just doing just a basic generic kind of head. So now we have this nice jawline, and I'm going to go ahead, before we get into more detail here, I'm going to go ahead and map in the overall head, the neck, and maybe the collar as well. So I'll just come down here, and this rhythm right here, this straight line, is going to kind of represent that big muscle of the neck, that sternocleidomastoid. And then we'll come over here. This will be the front side of the neck. So right about here, start to have those scalene muscles that run off the side of the neck, and then your trapezius, and then your shoulder down here. And actually, to make sure I get the shoulders lined in with each other, I'm going to do this nice rhythm from side to side. That really helps. So just side to side to grab that rhythm, and then we'll bring this down. Might bring this neck in somewhere over here. And much of drawing is like sculpting, in that you put down these really soft lines, and then as you put more information into the portrait around it, then you can come in and make adjustments to the lines that you already did, and in that way it's very sculptural. So you're like pushing and pulling and testing things out, and adjusting as you go. And it's really fun. So we got the neck, and again with anatomy, we'll come back to that. Let's just put this for the base of the neck placement, kind of indication, a little circle. See the point of the V-neck, usually under the chin. Maybe make it right here. So we have the shirt coming over the clavicle, coming down to that point, and then maybe a nice sweeping motion. It's kind of hard to draw on this angle with the camera over me. I'm trying not to block the view of the camera. Let's see. Okay, so now we just got our basic overall lay-in of the head and the 3 equal parts, with a little extra on the base, or not the base, but on the bottom third. So again, if you come over here to our little diagram, you can see this is a little bit longer than these two, and we'll just call this 1, 2, and 3. So our 1 and 2 are exactly the same distance, same length, but our 3 is longer than those two. And of course we can always adjust that as we go. So now we got this nice overall head shape. Next thing I want to do is talk about this line right here, especially at the top. So we have the front plane of the head, right? And then we have, this is the front plane of the face actually, and then the plane of the head, side plane of the head. And you can do that with this nice rhythm of the temporal zone, the temporal rhythm. And you can bring this down. I'm just going to do it for the sake of talking about it, but generally I don't put this rhythm in. And this comes all the way down to about the chin. And now we get the front plane of the face, side plane of the head. And you'll see also in a lot of drawings how to draw portraits. You'll see the Loomis method, and he'll draw that main circle, and then he'll draw a little oval for the side. And let's see, so like we did this kind of angle for the face, right? And then the center line, and he'll split this into 4 quadrants and place the ear in this lower far side quadrant, and then he'll build this chin. So you can do that. I generally don't like that because again I'll have to erase not only that line, but then I'll have to erase this line too. So usually I just start off with that little temporal rhythm, and for sake of this little demonstration I'll pull this line too. So a lot of times too, people get really, I used to do this too, so I know, like when you first start out, you get really hung up on trying to get this perfect circle, perfectly divided into 4 quadrants, and it's just a nightmare. And you wind up not having your drawing look like the person you're trying to draw. So after a while, I just let go of that and just look at the basic form, basic rhythm of the anatomy itself, and that helped a lot. So now, okay, so off of that tangent, we're going to go back to the thirds of the face and our perspective of the portrait. So we're looking up at them, so it's going to be like this angle kind of head box shape. So let me make this forehead a little bit darker before I get into that. So much gets wiped away by my hand. So there we go, that's a little bit better. Okay, so we bring this brow line over to this temporal line, and where those two touch, we're going to take an angle, and it's going to be the top of the ear. It's going to give us the top of the ear. And this one, the bottom of the nose, just bring it over to that line that we pulled down for the plane change of the face. And again, just make that parallel line, and that's going to be about where the bottom of the ear is. And now we have a decision to make, is do we keep the ear straight up like this, or do we rotate it down? How far do we want that angle? Since we're doing this from imagination, we're not looking at a model to tell us how to do it. We're just going to go with a slight angle to that. So that's another thing with the Loomis too. Like when you're using the Loomis, and you're getting really hung up on those equal parts and whatnot, that's where you start to lose the likeness of the person, because maybe they have like an extreme angle to the ears or something, and you kind of get away from that. You try to focus on what you learned about the Loomis instead, and then that's just like a little bit of a, just look out for that. It's a little heads up, because otherwise after a while using the Loomis, you'll start to have these kind of generic looking heads, even though you're drawing a really interesting person. So wait, I'm getting ahead of myself here, so let's go back. So we got the front side of the ear, and we're just gonna sketch in what you can call like the ear box, and that's where the ear is gonna sit in. So somewhere in here is gonna be that shape of our ear, and it looks pretty good to me. I like the angle, and so from here you can just sort of chisel out using little curves, a little basic shape of the ear. So now we have this mapped out ear. So keeping in with this head angle too, and it's a 3/4 pose, I might make this a little bit more narrow. I don't know yet, we'll see. But let's go back to the front of the face and look for the center line. So now if we look right here, we'll get the cross of the face, using the brow line, and then what we think will be the center line of the face that comes down between the brow, between the eyes, and touches right at the base of the nose. And then you don't really need to pull it all the way down. Again, you're just drawing extra lines, but for the sake of the demo, I'll go ahead and do that. So also, for the demo, let me keep these lines excuse me, let me keep these lines kind of coming out here so we can see how important it is to make sure throughout the drawing that all your features are lined up on that same tilt line. Let's see, so now that's pretty much this is probably like level 1 of drawing a head construction, generic. Portrait drawing can be frustrating, but here's the secret. Investing a bit of time in learning anatomy for portrait drawing pays off big time. Understanding facial structure gives you the power to confidently shape what you see. No more awkward surprises, just control over your masterpiece. So why risk an awkward portrait? Take the time to learn anatomy. Your drawings will thank you. Get our anatomy drawing course and see the difference for yourself. Purchase today and master the art of drawing portraits with confidence. And so from here, we can go ahead and start into the shape of the eyes. And I like to start at that keystone shape. That's what a lot of people call it. And that's that little structure between the brow. And then I'll pull off from there, I'll pull off a overall angle of the bridge of the nose, and then the underside of the nose. So here to here, and then just a basic shape of that far side nostril. Take out that center line. And now looking at this rhythm for the brow, because I want the eyebrows to be kind of arching. So we can pull a nice kind of circular rhythm here. And then the far side brow to the near side brow, I'm going to pull a rhythm from side to side. And that's going to help me keep everything locked in together. You'll see that throughout these portrait drawings, that you'll draw from one side to the other, like we did over here, from the shoulders, shoulder to shoulder, drawing that line all the way through, imaginary or not, but drawing it all the way through. And then I'm going to draw in the eye box, or you can call it the sunglass shape. So you can go over here. So we can pull this forehead forward a little bit, I think, and then the brow ridge, and that comes down. And then again, we're going to pull from one side to the other, come over, make sure those are all lined up. And a little tip in making sure that the eye is placed in the correct relationship to the nose, so that the nose and the eye doesn't feel all squished together or really pulled far apart, is I like to look for this nasal labial rhythm that comes off the nostril right here, and also the tear trough groove that'll come off from the eye. And then I like this distance, so if I had made it too wide like this, and then that eyeball is going to sit really high up, but we don't want that, so we'll come over here. So these rhythms too kind of correlate with the shape of the mouth, the muzzle line. So this is the inside muzzle, this is the outside muzzle. You'll see that too, and this is also going to help you build up that far side cheek around the mouth, but we'll get into that. But for now, what I want to do is just look at this distance, make sure that's good while I'm building up this eye socket. And now I can use this line here to sit the ball of the eye on, and it kind of just rests right on it, something like that. So let me just clean this up a little bit. There you go. And then we have this far side. So now let's pull a line straight across so I can get the bottom of the far side eyeball. And I'll just draw that a little bit a little bit further out, maybe right about here. So we got the brow. Oops, let's clean that up. Bring this over. We got the brow ridge coming in. And now I'm going to, behind that line is going to be the cheek coming out. And then for now, we'll just come down here. I'm going to change that too as we move along. But for right now, we got the basic idea of the eye shape, the brow shape. Now let's come down to placing the lips. So we have this line right here, the bottom of the nose, and then the bottom of the chin. And this is a really good trick in placing in the mouth, getting it in the ballpark. And especially since we're just doing a generic head, we can place it pretty much anywhere we want, but we do want it to look natural. So that to do that, you'll take this distance between the chin and the nose and divide that in half equally. So let's see if we can get there. Usually it takes me a couple times, so that's close enough. So we'll take that mark that's halfway between these 2 points, the chin and the nose, and bring this over. Now this line is going to be the bottom border of the bottom lip. So then we'll come up from there, and now we're going to draw a line that's going to represent the split between the upper lip and the lower lip. And then we'll draw in a line that represents basically the top border of the upper lip. So let's go ahead and put in our corners of the mouth where we think we would want them. I'm going to put it maybe over here. I think this is a little too wide. So these are the corners of the mouth, or the nodes. We have the upper lip, then we have the lower lip, and then of course there's going to be a shelf underneath that, and you can give a little bit of a rhythm to the chin, and they're going to just finish off that shape of the mouth. And I like to do a little stair step, so it goes up and then across, then goes down and then into the corner. So that's a really quick way to sketch in the lips and make sure that you get them somewhere in a natural looking position, is to take the distance between the bottom of the nose and the chin, divide it in half, about right there, and that's going to be your bottom border of the bottom lip. It's a really wonderful trick to get the lips in correctly. So now you can see how this line is really too far in, and we're going to use we're going to basically go into the topographical kind of the landscape of the face on this side, which is really important, and kind of build that up a little bit better. Excuse me. So looking at this rhythm for the cheek, I'm going to bring this all the way over, again, like from side to side, and try to match them up. So I really want this to be like a soft transition. So side to side, something like that, and we got that cheek coming out. It looks pretty good. And I got the brow pretty much out on top of the cheek. That's okay. Again, that depends on the person that you're drawing. Some don't even have this little bump right here, and some have a huge one, a huge deviation from most people. So let's go back over here. So again, with this corner of the mouth that we did, we want to encapsulate that with that anatomy on the far side. So we have this coming around, maybe a little bit further down, and then overlapping is the chin. So if you come in here, you can kind of see this line will overlap this other one, because the chin is in the front and this part is in the back, and again with the cheek as well. Let me come over here, just reestablish my lines a little bit. start erasing some of the construction lines that we did, and you can really make somebody look very old by accident if you start leaving in all the rhythm lines in the face. So like this one right here, if I pulled this all the way down, made it really dark, and this one too, that'll age the person by a couple of decades at least. So now we'll come over here and kind of just re-establish some of these lines that get kind of washed out as we go. Now I'm looking at this and I don't like the distance right here. This looks a little too wide. I don't know. I think I'll kind of pull that in a little bit. I don't know. It's like trial and error, especially when you don't have a reference in front of you. Let's see. I think that looks okay for now. Oops. All right. Overall head shape. So far we did eyes, nose, mouth. We got the placement of the ears. Let's go back into, I guess now we can really get into the plane changes of the face. And let's start with the bottom of the nose. So we have the overall shape block in of the nose, and we can do a rhythm for the greater alar cartilage, that's the ball in the nose, and then a little oval for the nostril. And then we can draw in this little coarse shadow to show that plane change, the underside of the nose, and then also it comes over here, kind of wraps around, and then we get that a little bit more of a crisp edge on that corner over there, and we can even indicate that far side nostril bump a little bit right here that you generally see in a 3/4 pose. So now you have the top plane, a bottom plane. We're going to do the same thing with the jawline too. So we come over here, right about here I suppose. You can even put that little chin boss, that little indentation in the chin if they have it. Let's see, this comes over to about right here, and there's going to be like this nice stair stepping. And the other thing too, when you're putting in the coarse shadow, so the coarse shadow on the chin is generally going to be a little bit darker or thinner than the coarse shadow that's over a fleshy soft area of the cheek. That's going to be a little bit wider and softer. So you'll see that in nature as coarse shadows fall on things that are soft and more rounded. It'll be a little bit wider and softer, and then when it falls over something that's a very especially down here in the chin, more bony structure, it's going to be a little bit of a thinner coarse shadow. So let's just come over here. There we go. So you can see the top plane of the face, of the jawline, and then the underplane of that jaw. Let's go over here and actually draw a little line for the cast shadow under the ear, and I'm going to join that up into the shadow on the underside of that chin. And I think I'll probably come in later and just show that cast shadow on the neck, but for right now we'll just keep it like this in case I have to do some adjustments on something or I get some other idea that I think will help. So let's go back over here. All right, so yeah, this is probably like level 2 now of a generic head, and let's continue. Let's decide if we like the shape of the ear or not and make our adjustments before we move along. It looks a little too wide to me. I want it in perspective, like this is the front of the face, this is the side of the head, so I am going to bring it in a little bit more. And then I'll go ahead and I'll just draw the basic shape of the ear real quick. So if you zoom in, I'll just go ahead and show you. So we have basically the ear is made up of these twisting forms, and the first one is called the helix, and that's this one right here. So this big piece that comes around, that's the helix, and then on the inside you have something called the antihelix, and that's that shape. It's almost like a Y shape, like a Y. And it comes around, and then we have right about here is the tragus, and then you have this little notch, and then you have the antitragus on the other side. And I think I'll just change that a little bit so that I'm going to open up that inside of the ear a little bit better. There we go. That looks kind of natural. And if we want, we can do a cast shadow on top of that, something like that, and maybe it kind of comes down into here, and then just fill in that, something like that. So just a basic block in of the ear, and now we can go into, let's go ahead and put in the hair shape before we get back. We'll get into the eyes a little bit more towards the end, but I think right now would be a good time to sketch out some hair. Okay, so before I do that, I'm just going to clean up again some of those rhythm lines, and I might leave that cross in a little bit for reference. So that's our hairline. I'll probably come down a little bit further, maybe about right here. I'll probably do like a widow's peak. I think generally like to draw a little bit of a widow's peak. So let's do that, and let me just kind of sketch in this eyebrow shape that I'm thinking of. There we go. So just looking at the overall shape of it, I think this needs to come in, kind of go along with this line here, because we did move the ear in a little bit. That looks pretty good. I might bring this neck in just a touch. So it's always good to, of course, throughout your drawing, I can't talk. I can't say this word, periodically. There we go. You want to just look at your drawing overall and kind of like look back a little bit, lean back in your chair, look at it sideways, maybe even take a nice little break, like a 5-minute break, and that really helps to see it with fresh eyes. Even just 5 minutes, it really helps a lot. So yeah, so I'm looking at it, I'm kind of playing with this anatomy that I know, and that's going to help me lock in certain things too. So the clavicles, you got that big sternocleidomastoid. It's got 3 points of connection. The clavicle, you got the sternum, and then the mastoid behind the ear. So I'm kind of like using that to help me make this look structurally sound. And also I'm procrastinating drawing the hair. Yeah, that's what's happening. All right, let's just go for it and try to come up with something. I think I'm gonna play it safe and just do like a bun shape in the back. And let's see, so we have the head shape, got the top of the skull, so we definitely want the hair above that, just to kind of sitting on top. Let's see, maybe to about right here, and of course it's gonna hug the back. So let's get rid of that skull shape that we put in. I'm going to keep this rhythm right here a little bit, because that will help us in designing the hair shape. Let's see, so let's bring this over, kind of volume this hair a little bit, And then maybe there's a chunk off the side connecting in, and then a little bit smaller one. And then maybe on that far side. Let's see, Widow's Peak. Kind of break that line up a little bit. Let's see. And using that plane change right here. So we have this kind of curvy front part of the temporal, or not temporal, the frontal bone, and then the temporal bone is kind of flat. So this is kind of curved and this is flat. So thinking about that while we're sketching in the hair will really help. So this kind of comes over. I'm just gonna kind of hang down on this ear a little bit. It's tucked behind the ear and it comes up and over. Now I can throw in a little bit of texture on the edge right there where the hair meets the scalp, and then it's longer and it hangs down. It goes behind the ear, something like that. Let's see. And where's the bun? The bun. Let's see. Let's keep it kind of high. It's funny trying to design stuff sometimes. It seems like it takes more mental energy to come up with something than it is to try to mimic a drawing or a portrait or a model. See, I can't even talk because I'm trying to think about this. Let's see. So the bun is in the back. Let's see. Let me kind of play with this. And then this, of course, is going to be. So the hair is like pulled up into that bun. And I'm trying to put a little bit of texture. It's not going to be like a highly detailed finished drawing, I know, but still, I don't know. I still want a little bit of texture in that for some reason. Let's see. And then we can do like pieces of loose hair. Oh yeah, down on the back too, behind the ear. Don't forget that. Usually you'll see like a little mound of the back of the hair as it kind of attaches to the nape of the neck. Let's see, that looks pretty good. Lean back a little bit, kind of take that in. I think that's pretty good for the generic head thing. Let's see. I haven't done a demo in 2 years, so it's feels kind of funny. It feels I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like it feels weird, odd, but at the same time very familiar. But I am having a hard time getting my words as I'm drawing, which is pretty funny. So yeah, let me go back into the face and just kind of reestablish these lines and the shape of things, because right now they're just very basic. Actually, I think I'll keep it that way, but there's the mouth. So I like to think of, if I was a little bug walking across the surface of the face, I would come down from the center line, go over the nose, go down here to this point of the base of the nose, and then I'm going to crawl across the top of the upper lip, crawl across the underside, then the top side of the bottom lip, and then I'm going to come down here in this little shelf underneath, and then across the chin, the top of the chin. So it kind of helps doing that kind of helps give you an idea of the sculptural feel of the drawing as you're drawing it, and just it's a nice little practice just to do that from time to time. And I'm going to use this kind of topographical shape of the philtrum to kind of help identify that feeling. I might actually just fill in a cast shadow. Actually, let's just do that. Let's go ahead and do a cast shadow underneath the nose and the bottom, underneath the jawline onto the neck. So cast shadows are really dark and crisp right at the edge, right underneath the thing that's causing the cast shadow, which for the nose would be right in this little pocket right here. And then over here, this is going to be a very sharp edge as well. And then as we move away from it, the edge will become softer. So let's go ahead and fill in this whole entire section. So we have the underside plane of the bottom nose and its shadow mixing into the cast shadow that's on top of the upper lip. And then at the end, I'll go ahead and put in that nostril, but for right now, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And let's fill in the upper and bottom lip with the same value. Sometimes we'll do the upper lip in a darker value than the bottom, but I think I'll just go ahead and do the same value. But I will treat the corners of the mouth with more value for sure. So let's go down here. So this edge is going to be a little bit more firm, and this is going to be darker in the corner. Same over here, and maybe a little bit of value because maybe the lips are kind of relaxed and they might be open a little bit, or you can just see like a little bit of a value change right there. So now we have the cast shadow underneath the nose. Now let's do a one underneath the bottom lip where we have this shelf, and this rhythm will run off the shelf and come around like so. And again, it's just, it'll depend, like if you make this really strong, it'll age the person. So you really got to decide if you like it or not. It doesn't always age them, but definitely if you have this rhythm connecting, that really changes their age. So let's take that line out. So now we have this really nice plane change of the nose, mouth, onto the chin. Now let's do the cast shadow on the neck. So just guessing, or we're gonna not guess, but we're gonna make it up. Let's see. So it's probably gonna go. It's probably gonna cast over here. Bottoms out, maybe over here. So I'm gonna fill in this whole section and bring it all the way over into this area too. Using the side of the pencil, just pulling long, thick lines of value. And then fading it out. You can even do like a feathering from the edge of that cast shadow. And I'll make it a little bit darker up in this pocket, because we're getting closer to the thing that's causing the cast shadow, just like we did right here. And I'm going to blend all of this in to make one single value, connecting all these values together, all the shadow shapes. And now I'm going to scumble. Scumbling is just doing this little hatching very lightly with the pencil. and then coming in and kind of just blending that in. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of value to knock down that bright white of the paper. And I want the value on the neck to be subservient to the stronger value, or the stronger light on the head actually. So we have the egg effect. So you can't even see our guy here because my hand rubbed him out almost completely. So the egg effect, you can see how he's shaped like an egg. So the light will be strongest at the top, and then as it moves down the face, it's going to get darker or less intense really. So as we move down the face, the light source that's up here is going to decrease in its strength. So definitely on the neck, even though it's in light over here, it's still going to have more value than up here in the light. And that's really going to help with the three-dimensional feel of the portrait. So I'm going to do that in this bottom section of the portrait. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure, just very lightly putting value in. And a lot of times, and you'll see me do this here in a second, I'll pull value in. So like, okay, so let me make sure my finger, a little quick tip, if your finger is sweaty, like you're nervous like I am right now, and you have charcoal on it or Conte, and with that, the wetness of the finger and that Conte, and you make a mark on the page, it tends to almost scratch it to the point where it's like you can't get the value out. So I almost went in with a wet finger and started rubbing in here, and that was going to really mar the paper. So what I did was I just kind of, I shouldn't, but I did. I wiped it on my my jeans to make sure it's real dry. And then a lot of times you can come in, instead of scumbling, you can actually just pull value from the dark side of your shadows into the light side of the portrait. So there we have a nice kind of darker value in the lower portion of the face versus the top. So let me just for a second take some time to clean up the face. I still want to keep this rhythm just for sake of the demo. We have the eye, sunglass shape or eye box, cross of the face, far side eyeball. Again, let's keep this line coming through. Again, it's always good to check at different stages of the drawing to make sure everything's all lined up on that same tilt line, especially the eyes. Because the eyes tend to get away from us when we place them in. One eye will float up and it'll be like, I don't know why, but it tends to happen a lot. We get too much into the details, and then when we step back, we're like, oh no, now I have to like make all these corrections, and I spend all this time. So you want to watch out for it. So just take a moment to look out for these tilt lines and make sure that the eyes are all lined up and everything else. So all right, so where are we? We're pretty good so far. Let me just put some value over here just for fun. I'll just put some basic, not too much, especially down here though. It tends to be a little bit darker, even in blonde hair, down on this part of the head and the back. Now, bun in the back. Okay. All right. Put a little bit more detail in the ear real quick. All right. So let's go into the eyes and draw these basic eye shapes. Actually, let me reiterate this because this is all getting blown out. And again, I'm procrastinating because I know I'm going to go into the eyes, and it's going to take a lot of work, especially on the demo. I'm really nervous. It's been a while. Let's see. All right. So the eyes. So to locate the inside corner of the eye, the main eye here, you can take this line, the bridge of the nose line, and bring that over to right about here and make a parallel line. Now I like to go to about where that nostril meets up with that nasolabial fold, and I'll bring that line up parallel to the bridge of the nose. And then right about here, the inside corner will start. And just like all the other features, I'm going to bring this line all the way across to make sure my other eye is in alignment with this one. So this inside corner of this eye, let's say it's behind the bridge of the nose. So I'm going to put that right there. And then we have this one right here. Let's see, we can always change that a little bit if we don't like it as far as the placement. Let's see. So let's go ahead and sketch this eye first. So we have this ball right on this far side, and we're going to wrap that eyelid around it. So basically we drew a ball, and then we have our eyelid. It's going to wrap around it to the back side, like so. And then that's the thickness of the eyelid. So you get something like that, if that makes any sense. So that's what we're doing. And then of course for the bottom eyelid, you make a little wedge shape. I like to make a little bit of a straight edge versus these curves at the top. And it looks something like that. So maybe you got like an eyelash coming off the top. So that's a really rudimentary, kind of simplified way to think about the eye, but it seems to work really well. Especially, you'll see that a lot in sculpture, those kind of shapes. So that's what we're going to do over here. So this line's going to wrap up and over, and then you already see that rhythm that we did earlier sitting right there waiting for us. And then the bottom eyelid. Now this is where I can come in, kind of clean up this area. Put a little eyelash on it. Bottom eyelid comes out. A little bit of an angle. Something like that. And let me go ahead and just draw that eye. Put a little highlight right there. I think I'll open that eye up a little bit more. So now let's go to the main eye using that same tilt line coming over here. Somewhere right about there. And we have this rhythm. I'm going to bring this actually down. Make sure it kind of connects side to side. Nice. And then our upper eyelid. You'll see like this little looping pocket. And in deep set eyes, this will be really dark, this little pocket right here. And then let's come over here. Actually, let's go ahead and draw the pupil or the iris. Put a little flat edge for the bottom eyelid. bit of a highlight. Then we'll have this tiny little plane change for the bottom eyelid, kind of the top of the bottom eyelid. There we go. So now I can look at my overall shape of the brow and decide if I want to change it. Let's clean all this, take all these rhythms out real quick. There's probably a cast shadow here, and then this comes down into that rhythm. Yeah, I'm gonna bring this back side of the brow down. If I had a photo reference, it would help a lot. But yeah, this is the fun part of drawing from imagination and just thinking about the basics of structure. Let's see. So this is a nice, I forgot what they call this. Oh yeah, it's called the Fabergé egg. A lot of times you see this shape right here. It's almost like an egg shape because there's this nice form shadow that kind of rests right here. And then usually there's a harder edge on the bottom side of the upper brow right there. I could do the same over here. Let's put a little bit of value on this far side. So let's just fill all of this in. And you can also do a little bit of a mid-tone, kind of, if you know the structure of the anatomy a little bit, you know there's a bony ridge, the nasal bone right here, and the side plane of the nose. Let's go ahead and fill in the pupil. Trying to decide if I want to just do darker eyes or, let's see. That's fine. This will be a harder edge right here because of that cast shadow, and this will be more of a form shadow, soft on top. Might be some value right here. Don't want to get too detailed. I'm trying to stop myself from keep going. Let's see. Let me find my Tombow eraser. That's this guy right here. That's the Mono Zero. I really like this eraser. It gives you a lot of control and edge manipulation. Very, very good tool. Okay, so basic head construction, pretty much got most of it in now. So moving the hand around, as you can see, kind of blurs everything out. So periodically I'll come in and hit those edges a little bit. And sometimes I like the blurriness, and I'll just let it happen in certain strategic areas. and not worry about it too much. Let those certain edges sort of get lost and disappear. Let's see. Let's come down here, try to erase that line and make that disappear a little bit better. And reestablish that core shadow is very important. So I mean, she's pretty much done, but I'm just gonna walk around the drawing a little bit and just kind of play with the plane changes and the edges and the values. I don't want to bring it to like a full completion of some sort, but maybe just somewhere in the middle. I don't know. It's a pretty fun drawing, so just want to manipulate some of these plane changes and midtones. So it really helps to know the anatomy, and the way it really helps you is in figuring out the shapes of things, like in the midtones, for example. So like maybe you saw a midtone somewhere over here and you don't know really what it's doing, what's causing it, then you run into the problem of putting it in the wrong spot, or it's disconnected from other shapes around it and then it just looks like a smudge mark. But if you know the anatomy, then you know what's happening in that area. Maybe you're like, oh, that's because they're smirking a little bit, so the risorius muscle is engaged and it's creating that value. So it really helps you to see those midtones a lot better, knowing your anatomy. So yeah, if you if you never studied anatomy before, I definitely suggest you do. It's really fun. It doesn't sound fun. It sounds tedious, but it actually is. It's very very useful when you're drawing, and you start drawing faster, and you also start drawing more details, subtle details, and it's just a lot of fun to be able to see the world better. And anatomy is really important for that. Let's see. Let me go back over here. I'm going to put the darker dark to help really pop that three-dimensional kind of feel of things. So over here, oh yeah, I was talking about putting in that nostril, so let's go ahead and do that. So just really easy. Comes over, comes in, and we'll just fill that in with the dark. That's pretty much it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So let's go back over here. So I've been waiting to put the highlight in, and I think I'll go ahead, I'll put value in the nose. The nose tends to be kind of red, more red anyway, and red is a darker value. So when you're painting a portrait, you'll put a lot of red into the nose compared to other places, especially on the forehead. But in this case, let's go ahead and put some darker value so that it will support a nice highlight on the nose, and a little bit more in the lips, so I can put a highlight on the lip, and a little bit more in the chin, so I can get a soft highlight on the chin. So let's go ahead and put some value on this far side as well. That kind of pushes that side down a little bit. So now I'll come over here, just put a little bit of a highlight, maybe one running on the bridge, and then on the lip, and then maybe a softer one on the chin. Okay, so actually I don't want to take a break. Let's just keep on going. So let me just push this value down in this far eye a little bit. I don't want the attention to go to this eye too much because it's in the far side of the portrait. So anyway, I'm getting a little too detailed on that basic head. So let's go ahead and pretty much, let's just wrap it up and just talk about what we did. So we started out with the circle for the head, and then I was talking about how in the Loomis method, they'll do the side plane oval shape for the side of the head and ear placement, and I used to use that a lot when I first started drawing portraits with the method. I used the Loomis method, and I found it kind of tedious a little bit, and got in the way because I was trying to so desperately keep these quadrants equal, and that really just got in the way. So what I ended up doing was really just focusing on the temporal rhythm, where it's placed on my model, and also the angle of that ear, and the perspective of the overall head tilt that we see. Like if you thought of the head inside of a box, and you got the brow ridge, like the hairline, bottom of the nose, bottom of the chin, and then you come to the other side and you change that angle because it's in that upwards perspective, and then you would find the placement of the ear. I would do that here, and then of course that jawline would come down, and then we have the center line, and then we built the overall shape of everything, the neck and the shoulders all together in one unit. And then from there we went in and started with the bridge of the nose, the keystone shape, built the underside, just basic block in of the nose, and then we did a block in of the eyes, and then the placement of the mouth. And remember that really cool technique where bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin, divide this in half, and you get the bottom border of the bottom lip. And that's really a fast way just to get in the ballpark. Even if you're drawing from like a live model, you still might do that and just come over here and look at your model and decide if it's higher or lower, but at least you're in very close to the ballpark, the mark of how your model looks. And let's see, we also talked about, as far as shading, the cast shadows would be very dark and crisp on the edge as they're underneath the thing that is causing the shadow, like here underneath the jaw, and over here under the nose. And then in the corner of the mouth we'll get a little bit of a sharp edge right here in the nodes of the mouth, and of course we got the cast shadow a little bit under that underside of the bottom lip, and we did the basic eye shapes, and I think that's pretty much it. So yeah guys, thanks for watching. I always appreciate it. It's good to be back. It's been 2 years, but I'm back and just sort of warming back up to doing demos. Been drawing, of course, but the demos are a little bit different. They take a little bit more effort because of the talking at the same time as drawing is, yeah, it's quite a skill to learn, and I haven't been practicing that one. So, but it's coming along. It's good, and yeah. So, and let's see, let's go back over here. So we got these basic rhythms. Just kind of want to show those a little bit more. Let's see. So side to side, you can see the old one versus the new one. Let's keep the cross of the face too. There we go. All right. Thanks again, guys, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. If you'd like to get more videos, get that little, click that button thing that what tells you when I drop a video. Yeah, it's so weird saying all that. Yeah, so It's good to be back. It's good to see you guys. See you in the comments. And yeah, happy drawing. Bye.